Breaking the life of civil rights icon Congressman John Lewis will happen over 6 days, and it all begins tomorrow. Nick Sturdivant is live in Atlanta with the details, and Nick, celebrations are happening across several cities, including Atlanta.
That's right, Sheba. Good morning. It's a mega tribute for an American hero. As you mentioned, it will span over 6 days. It will start in his home state of Alabama and will wrap up here in Atlanta. The celebration of light ceremonies are set to begin Saturday in Troy, Alabama. The theme of the day is the boy from Troy. On Sunday morning in Selma, the public is invited to watch Lewis's casket cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge. His body will lie in state at the Capitol in Montgomery later that day. Then it's Washington, D.C. on Monday and Tuesday. Lewis will lie in state at the U.S. Capitol. Congressman Lewis will then be honored in Atlanta on Wednesday and Thursday. He will lie in the state, in-state at the Georgia Capitol, which is open to the public. His funeral service, a celebration of his life, is Thursday morning at 11 o'clock at Ebenezer Baptist Church. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi talked about what he meant to the Congress and to this country.
He was fighting right up until the end. Part of our putting together our heroes out. He was our hero, that's for sure. But again, it takes us back to our values and what brings us here. And we're here for America's working families. That's what John Lewis was always about.
And his funeral, which is set for Thursday, is not open to the public. But to check out what will happen over the next 6 days, head to our website, 11alive.com. Sheba.